Hey everyone, tonight we're going to step into one of the most quietly intense, pressure-packed, oddly beautiful places you've probably never thought about. A nuclear reactor, but not as a visitor. Nope, you're going to live a full day, as a worker like me. And I'll tell you now, it's not as glamorous as the movies, but it's way more surreal. Let me set the scene. It's 5:37 a.m. The room is still dark, except for the pale green glow of the numbers on my clock. The hum it makes. That's not just the motor, there's a Geiger counter built into it. And yes, it crackles now and then like popcorn in slow motion. Totally normal. A little radiation is expected when your job description includes the phrase, core proximity. I drag myself up and sit on the edge of the bed, rubbing my face like I'm trying to remember which timeline I'm in. The air smells sterile, like filtered ductwork and industrial detergent. My uniform is already laid out. Khaki cargo pants, long-sleeve thermal undershirt, and steel-toe boots with soles thick enough to bounce gamma rays back to the source. Or at least, that's the rumor. I brush my teeth while eyeing my dosimeter badge on the counter. It's the size of a USB stick and tracks how much radiation I've absorbed. If it ever flashes red, I either run or pray or both. That hasn't happened yet. As I rinse and spit, I remember something strange I read last night. Ancient Romans used lead pipes to carry water, which slowly poisoned them. Now here I am, centuries later, voluntarily spending my life around another toxic element, uranium, but with better paperwork. History doesn't repeat, it mutates. Before I leave, I grab a protein bar and scan my badge at the door. It logs the exact time I exit, not because they care when I'm late, well, maybe a little, but because if the place ever blows, they want to know exactly who to dig for. Outside, the morning is foggy and cool. My breath clouds in front of me. The parking lot is half full of silent, identical sedans, a few trucks, no bumper stickers. Not because we're boring, but because no one wants to advertise where they work. Ask me about you. Doesn't look great at neighborhood cookouts. Sliding into my car, I crank the heater and start the playlist I've titled Prefission Vibes. It's mostly lo-fi beats, because if I arrive too hyped, I start questioning mortality during the safety briefing. Driving through the quiet town, I pass rows of well-maintained lawns and white mailboxes. This place has an eerie Stepford feel. The local grocery store is called Neutral Grounds, and even the library has a fallout shelter sign on the door. Nobody makes eye contact at gas stations. It's not rude, it's just part of the unspoken agreement. We're all one bad gasket away from the end, so let's not get too attached. As I turn onto the long private road to the reactor facility, the mood shifts. Trees give way to thick concrete walls, coils of barbed wire, and a retractable barricade. My windshield fogs up slightly, like even my car knows this isn't a normal workplace. The first guard checkpoint is staffed by a guy named Mendez. He always looks like he just woke up from a 20-year nap. His left hand casually rests near the holster on his hip as he says, "Badge." I hold it up. He scans it, pauses, nods, says nothing else. That's our morning chat. Every day. No variation. The next checkpoint is biometric. I put my eye against the scanner and it beeps, followed by a female voice that says, "Identity confirmed. Level 2 access granted." I half expected to add, "Good luck not mutating today." Finally, I enter the staff locker building. Grey walls, grey benches, grey lockers. You could film a dystopian prison scene here without touching a thing. I head to my locker, number 74, and swap my street clothes for the base thermal layer. It's lightweight, but somehow makes me sweat like I'm stuck in a microwave burrito. Then I put on the hazmat shell, yellow, wrinkled too tight at the elbows. It zips in the back, like a Halloween costume with consequences. As I pull on the last piece, my helmet, I pause and look at myself in the mirror. I look like a bug, a nervous, over-caffeinated bug, now fully suited up. I step into the last chamber before the containment area. The deionization airlock. It sprays a soft mist of something that smells like hospital beds and static electricity. Just before the doors open, I notice a line scrawled on the wall in Sharpie. No one glows on purpose. Welcome to work. And before we continue, here's your required educational detour. Did you know that the very first controlled nuclear reaction happened in 1942 under a squash court in Chicago? I kid you not. Enrico Fermi and his team stacked graphite blocks and uranium under the bleachers and called it Chicago Pelium. No permits, no blast shield, Just a group of geniuses with poor risk assessment. Also completely off topic, but sea otters hold hands while they sleep, so they don't drift apart. I read that on a box of tea, and it stuck with me. Don't ask why. Anyway, let's go to the core. The drive into the reactor complex ends in a vast parking structure that smells like rubber and reinforced concrete. From there, a narrow sealed hallway connects to the main control facility. I walk it every day 27 steps, from the elevator to the first sealed door, 10 more to the turnstile, then for badge swipes and 2 biometric scans to get to the lobby. It's like playing a spy game where the prize is 12-hour shifts and mild radiation exposure. The security guards are unusually quiet today. They usually nod or make a dry joke about how none of us glow yet. But today there's a strange tension in the air. A technician ahead of me mutters, "It's the full moon." Equipment always acts weird during the full moon. I want to argue that nuclear physics doesn't care about lunar phases, but honestly, I've seen enough rogue temperature spikes to stop scoffing. Once past the final turnstile, I reach the main floor. The overhead lighting hums like a tired beehive, and the tiles are scrubbed so clean they reflect my boots. On one side of the corridor, personnel offices with paper-thin walls. On the other side, glass doors the thickness of a vending machine, bolted shut like they're holding back a dragon. One of them is labeled, "Reactor Access Controlled, Entry Only." I head toward the briefing room. Inside, 8 of us are gathered around a circular metal table. The walls are a sad beige, decorated only with laminated safety flow charts, and a faded poster of Marie Curie holding a beaker like she's about to DJ a rave. There's always stale coffee in the corner. It tastes like burnt cardboard. But no one dares complain. Our supervisor, Jerry, walks in. He's ex-Navy high-strung and allergic to nonsense. "All right, folks," he barks, already clicking through his PowerPoint. "Today's temperature differential in Sector 4 is stable, so Rod Group C maintenance goes ahead. Rad levels holding below 2.3 MSV per hour in your zones well within tolerances. But, and I'm saying this clearly, we've had some anomalous vibration reports near the coolant intake. Keep your geophones active and report anything weird, even if it's just a goosebump." His briefings are like military command mixed with awkward dad energy. We go over our assignments. I'm paired with Lonnie, who knows more about thermal shielding than anyone I've met. Once, during a bet, she drank a shot of isotonic gel from the scrubber system. Not harmful, technically, but still legendary. Jerry finishes up with his usual, "Remember, no shortcuts, no overconfidence, and no jokes about glowing in the dark." HR is still processing that complaint from last week. As we stand, I tap my badge to the control console to log in. It pings with a pleasant chirp. Somewhere in the data center, my name is now tied to a day's worth of heat signatures and gamma traces. Fun fact, the average worker here produces enough recorded data daily to fill an entire DVD, which feels both impressive and ancient-like. Are we still pretending DVDs are a thing? Lonnie and I head down another corridor toward the prep chamber. This part of the facility is soundproofed to an uncanny level. Even our footsteps feel distant, like we're walking through someone else's dream. The air smells filtered, like aluminum and humidity. We don't talk much. Everyone knows the energy down here demands quiet. It's like the walls are listening. The final blast door opens with a hiss. Behind it, the descent, a spiral metal staircase, winds down into the containment levels. We take each step carefully, not because it's unstable, but because the vibrations here change as you go lower. At the top, it's a faint thrumming. Halfway down, it's like standing beside a subway train. At the bottom, it's a full-body hum, like your bones are tuning forks trying to harmonize with something deep and unseen. At the final platform, a small sign reads, "The core is closer than you think." Someone scratched the word "always" below it. Management never bothered to erase it. We step into the containment perimeter. The door seals behind us with a thud that I feel in my teeth. And then silence. Real silence. Not the kind you get in the woods or in your bedroom at 2 a.m. I mean engineered silence. A vacuum-like hush that absorbs even your thoughts. You have to whisper here, not out of courtesy, but because your own voice sounds strange and out of place. Every sound echoes like a ghost of itself. We walk toward the core access hallway. Pipes run above acoustic, silver, ribbed like veins in a steel giant. The floor is coated in polymer grip panels. which make our boots sound like sandpaper on velvet, and then we're at the heart. The core itself is invisible, of course. It's encased in layers of steel, concrete, and neutron-absorbing shielding. But you feel it, the way a thunderstorm is felt before you hear the thunder. The room is dim, lit by blue emergency LEDs and the faint glow of status screens. A series of robotic arms rest on rails, like sleeping mantises. They'll be used later to move the control rods, but for now, they wait. I glance at the sensor wall. Our zone is reading 1.1 MSV per hour, double the morning average, but still acceptable. Lonnie frowns. Maybe the core's in a mood, she says. I nod. Must be the full moon. We walk our route, checking for anomalies. One of the heat exchangers is running hotter than usual. Not danger hot, but uncomfortable hot, like standing next to a stressed-out dragon. Make a note, Lonnie mutters. Let ops run the cooldown subroutine. We pass by one of the emergency coolant valves, and she adds, fun fact, these things are tested with helium, not water. Water would corrode the seals. Helium's cleaner. Quieter, huh? I say. Helium's also what makes your voice squeaky. I dare you to inhale some during shutdown. She just raises an eyebrow. Only if I can sing the reactor lullaby. And speaking of quirky trivia, turns out, cockroaches can survive more radiation than we can, but they'd still die at Coralville exposure. Hollywood lied again. As we finish the round, the vibration underfoot grows stronger. It's not dangerous yet, but it's odd, like something massive exhaled beneath us. I pause and listen. Nothing, Lonnie notices. You feel that? I nod. Let's tell Jerry. Because in this place, the smallest twitch might not be the reactor, it might be the warning. The moment we report the vibration to Jerry, everything gets a little colder. Not literally, the ambient temperature holds steady around 22 degrees Celsius, but the room feels like it flinched. Jerry doesn't blink. He just taps the edge of the console and says, all right, I'll have engineering run a subharmonic analysis on that zone. That's code for we'll pretend to look into it until something explodes or a consultant gets nervous. Lonnie and I glance at each other, both pretending we don't already know how this plays out. It's not uncommon to feel tremors here. The whole building is built on seismic dampers, and the core has been known to cause micro-vibrations as the fuel shifts slightly under extreme thermal cycles. Still, today felt off, but no time to dwell. We have diagnostics to run. We head to Bay D3, which houses a half-dozen instruments with names like Delta Phase Neutron Spectrometer and Flux Parity Equalizer, which, I promise, sound way cooler than they are. I once renamed one of them in the internal dashboard to Photonato Novi Mu, just to see if anyone noticed. Jerry didn't laugh. Each of these machines is designed to confirm that reality hasn't broken, that the delicate ballet of chain reactions inside the core is still going, according to choreography. One hiccup, and suddenly your day goes from boring but paid to meltdown. Literally. We check readings, recalibrate a faulty relay, and replace a sensor array that got fried last night during an unexplained power surge. That part is unsettling. Sensors don't usually burn out unless there's something really hot happening. And by hot, I don't mean spicy ramen hot Thai. Mean could sterilize a village hot dot as I work. I notice the faint smell of ozone in the air. Do you smell that? I ask. Lonnie pauses. Ozone. Again. That's the third time this week. Now, here's your historical detour. The nuclear industry has always danced a tightrope between power and panic. In 1957, the Windscale fire in England released radioactive iodine into the atmosphere after graphite blocks inside the reactor caught fire. The scariest part, nobody even told the public until days later. It's one of the reasons modern safety protocols are so paranoid, but still not paranoid enough to catch everything. That's the hard truth we live with. If your Geiger counter is too quiet, it might be lying. We finish diagnostics and head toward one of the internal observation ports, tiny shielded windows where we can look into the secondary coolant system. It's not direct line of sight to the core, obviously, but it's close enough to feel like staring into the belly of something ancient and hungry. I press my face to the thick glass. Why does this always feel like an aquarium for nightmares? Lonnie peers over. Because the fish glow and there's no food pellets. She's not wrong. The murky swirl of the coolant fluid has an odd shimmer to it, like glitter suspended. In soup, of course. It's not glitter, it's neutron-saturated boric acid circulating at terrifying speeds. And then, as we're both watching, the shimmer pulses. One dot, it's almost imperceptible, like a slow blink, but we both see it.
Was that
I start? Yep, she says. The flow just hiccuped. We immediately report it. Jerry's voice crackles over the comms. We've got coolant, delta pressure, irregularities in bay. DU to finish up and head back to control for reroute coordination. Translation, something is clogging or disrupting coolant flow, and we're going to pretend it's minor until it's not. On our way back, we pass a technician named Drew, who is sitting cross-legged on the floor beside the diagnostics rack, staring into space. He's holding a sandwich he hasn't bitten. You good? I ask. He snaps out of it. Yeah, just trying to remember if I closed the filter valve before we restarted the pump yesterday. That would be the valve labeled "Do Not Forget." He groans. That's the one. We keep walking, but that's the thing, everyone here knows the stakes. Even the smallest error, an unlatched valve, a decimal point in the wrong place, can spiral. It's why we triple check everything. It's why we sign forms in triplicate, and it's also why we all occasionally zone out and question our life choices. And here's a fun distraction. Sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins. That's real. Their metabolism is so slow, they can go underwater for up to 40 minutes without surfacing. Meanwhile, I can barely hold mine while walking past the steam pipe near base. It smells like feet and regret. Back in control. Jerry is tapping away at a terminal like it owes him money. We're seeing uneven pressure across the lower coolant manifold. He says without looking up. We're bringing in a thermal imaging drone to scan the intake lines. I watch the tiny drone launch from its station. It hums like a giant electric bee as it disappears down the duct. On the screen, a thermal map blossoms into viewreds, blues, and yellows pulsating like an abstract painting, until one of the ducts glows orange. Too orange. That's not optimal, Lonnie mutters. Jerry frowns. We might have a partial block or build-up. From what? I ask. Best guess, he says. Corrosion flakes. Maybe something got dislodged during pressure equalization. Worst case, early stage biofilm. We've seen it before. Now that's a debate in the field. Some engineers argue biofilms can form even in high radiation coolant systems. If extremophiles radiation tolerant, microbes start adapting to the conditions. Others say it's impossible. I say, if tardigrades can survive outer space, they're probably doing laps in our coolant tanks. Either way, someone will eventually have to clean that duct. And spoiler alert, it probably won't be Jerry. We log everything, double-check pressure readings, and submit the incident report. It's tagged Level 2 non-critical anomaly, which sounds harmless until you realize Level 3 is the lowest, level that actually triggers evacuation drills. As Lonnie and I step out for a break, we pass the big red manual override lever. I always pause there. It's absurdly theatrical, like the kind of thing you'd see in a cartoon labeled pull. In case of doom, I've never touched it, but every now and then, I wonder what it'd feel like. We grab our break in the only place that feels remotely human inside this fortress of concrete and containment, the lunchroom. And by human, I mean it has a microwave, a couch with a questionable stain, and a vending machine that once ate my change and somehow gave me a bag of screws. Still, it's cozy in its own strange, institutional way. The walls are lined with lead-infused paneling, because nothing says Bon AP Petty, like being reminded you're eating 20 feet from uranium. Lonnie flops onto the couch and peels back the wrapper on her granola bar like it's a treasure map. I've got a tuna sandwich, the classic reactor worker lunch. It doesn't radiate style, but it gets the job done. The air smells faintly of reheated spaghetti, industrial strength sanitizer, and a weird sweetness I can't quite place. Probably banana pudding from the shift before, or the coolant's acting up again. We eat mostly in silence, both of us watching the muted TV on the wall. It's looping a safety training video where a poorly animated avatar demonstrates how to handle a tritium spill by waddling like a penguin in rubber boots. I swear that animation hasn't changed since the early 2000s. Somewhere out there is a very tired animator still cashing government checks. Lonnie finishes her bar. Remember, the squirrel. I laugh. How could I forget? Shut down half the South Sector for 6 hours. Poor guy thought he found a warm place to nap. In case you're wondering, that's a real thing. Squirrels are surprisingly common in power plant disruptions. They chew through wires, short out switches, or crawl into warm air vents and cause system alarms that trigger full lockdowns. There's even a running tally on the break room whiteboard. Nature versus nuclear. Squirrel 7, reactor 5. Jerry walks in, grabs a styrofoam cup of coffee, and grumbles something about elevated flow ratios in Sector 3. He doesn't. Stay long supervisors are like ghosts here. They appear, rattle some chains, then vanish into utility tunnels. Think he sleeps in his office? I ask. Lonnie shrugs. Only if you count sleep as staring at spreadsheets with bloodshot eyes. I unwrap my sandwich and ask the real question. You ever wonder if the reactor has moods? She tilts her head. You mean like grumpy because we forgot its birthday? I mean, think about it. We pump it full of enriched uranium. It gets all hot and bothered, and we keep shoving rods in and out of it. It has a right to be temperamental. Okay, now that's a sentence that'll get you flagged on the internal logs. I grin and bite into the sandwich. It tastes the same as always, like salt and compliance. But truthfully, I do wonder. Not that the reactor has a soul or anything, but when you work this close to something with the power to flatten cities, you start assigning it personality traits. We give it nicknames, mutter to it when it sputters, and curse it like it can hear us when it doesn't behave. It's like living with a dragon you have to sing lullabies to. Speaking of which, it's time for our afternoon sweep. We head back toward the interior via Corridor J, which always gives me the creeps. It's dimly lit, with walls too close together, and an HVAC unit that groans like it's dying in slow motion. Halfway down, there's a maintenance hatch that never opens, but somehow always smells like burnt toast. No one knows why. We've stopped asking. As we pass the hatch, I say, you know, I read that toast smell. Hallucinations can be a sign of a stroke. Lonnie deadpans. If we both smell it, either the reactor's stroking out or we are. Back inside, we split up. I take the diagnostic console for the West sensor bank. Lonnie heads down to check a leak sensor that's been giving off ghost signals. For the uninitiated, a ghost signal is what we call random flickers or spikes in the data feed that don't match physical conditions. Could be electromagnetic interference, could be faulty wiring, could be an early warning. Basically, it's like your smoke alarm chirping at 2 a.m. and you just hope it's the battery. As I begin my readouts, I spot a curious trend. The neutron flux, the number of neutrons flying through the air per second, is climbing slightly in one of the outer rings. Not dangerous yet, but higher than the average by about 12%. That wouldn't normally raise alarms, unless you combine it with the earlier pressure spike and the vibration. I call Lonnie. You seeing anything? Sensors clean, she says. But I don't like how warm the floor is. The floor, she pauses. Yeah, like not heat, just radiant. Ever felt that weird warmth from a laptop when it's trying to fry your thighs? Please never describe our reactor as a laptop. I don't want to imagine someone browsing Reddit in there. Still, I log the flux reading. It gets tagged as a Class 1 variance. But again, that word non-critical has a lot of asterisks in this line of work. Another fun fact for your mental amusement. During the Cold War, the US once tried to use a nuclear explosion to dig a new harbor in Alaska. The project was called Project Chariot. It did not go well. Blowing up the coastline for convenience turned out to be unpopular. Who knew? After I finish my sweep, I loop back toward the diagnostics bay and find Lonnie leaning against the wall, scribbling something on her pad. Everything okay? I ask. Sensor for 8C was bent, she replies, physically. Like something brushed it too hard. Human error. No one's been down there since last Friday. We look at each other. That's not the kind of thing you just shrug off. Objects don't move in containment zones without very specific authorization, and certainly not by themselves. We tag the sensor as compromised and submit for a manual replacement. I check the system log. No personnel logged in that zone during that window. 0. Nada. Now that's the kind of mystery that makes people uneasy. Not explosions, not leaks, but small inconsistencies. The kind that whisper rather than shout. And just as we finish writing it up, the first alarm blares. Its sharp, pulsing, designed to override every other sound. Red strobes flash along the upper walls. The monitor in the bay flashes. Containment zone C pressure variance detected. I freeze. Sandwich still half digested somewhere in my chest. Lonnie mutters, not again, because this has happened before. And last time, it wasn't a drill. There's no such thing as a casual alarm in a nuclear facility. The moment it goes off, your body reacts before your brain does. My stomach clenches, my fingers go numb, and every inch of skin feels electric, like I've stepped into a thundercloud that forgot how to rain. Lonnie's already moving. She slams her thumb onto the bay's emergency lockout console, sealing the diagnostics room. Thick metal doors hissed shut, locking with a clunk that sounds way too final. I pull my cum. Control. This is Sector D. We have eyes on the alarm zone. See pressure variance confirmed. Awaiting directive. A beat of silence. Then Jerry's voice crackles in. Copy zone. See readouts spiked to 180% baseline. Confirm all secondary seals engaged and prep for lockdown protocol. Gamma. Gamma. That's not the worst case scenario, that would be Omega. And if you ever hear that word, you don't walk, you run. But Gamma's still bad. It means something's misbehaving in a big way, and we're seconds from being sealed into our respective zones like mismatched Tupperware. The pressure variance warning keeps flashing red on the terminal in front of me. Lonnie's already pulling up the feed from the interior cameras. Visual on Zone C intake loop. She mutters, coolant flow is erratic, definitely turbulent. On screen, the normally smooth stream of liquid in the pipe looks chaotic, like 1,000 angry soda cans shaken and released at once. Bubbles, gurgles. Then, in the lower corner of the frame, a flicker, a pulse. Just for a second. What was that? I say, pointing. She freezes the frame, zooms. We both lean in. It's not clear, just a shimmer, like heat distortion or a ripple in thick glass. Tell me that's a refraction artifact. I whisper. I'd love to, she says, but it just blinked. Then the pressure dips again fast. The gauge drops 20 points in 3 seconds. Too fast. That's not a fluctuation. That's a breach. And now comes the sound I dread more than anything in this job. The automatic sealing alarm. BWO-OP. BWORP. Zone C, active containment engaged. A mechanical voice follows. Personnel remain in assigned zones. Do not approach isolation seals. Await override from control. The reactor's safety systems are shutting off access to the breach zone, which makes sense. You don't want a pressure fault spreading. But it also means whoever was in Zone C, they're not getting out. I check the personnel tracker. Oh no. What Lonnie says. Drew's still in Zone C. Lonnie's hand flies to a headset. Control. We've got a technician still logged in. Zone C. Repeat. Technician in the hot zone. Jerry's voice again. We've got his ping. No vitals. Badge went dark 6 seconds ago. My mouth is dry. That usually means one of two things. His dosimeter failed, or it's giving off readings that made the system cut his signal. Either way, the system considers him compromised, and we have to stay put. Now, if you're wondering why we don't, just rush in and rescue him. Let me share a fun read. Terrifying fact. The real danger in a reactor breach isn't always radiation, it's pressure differential. One missealed valve or split in a pipe can create enough vacuum to pull a man's insides out through his suit. It happened in a sodium-cooled fast reactor in the 1980s. Guy went in for a coolant check, came out as a statistic. So yeah, we wait. And waiting inside a locked zone with flashing alarms is like being in an elevator that's falling in slow motion. You keep wondering, is this it? Is this where the cables snap? Lonnie is pacing now, muttering numbers under her breath. Reactor temperatures, PSI levels, coolant loop status. It's her way of staying calm, like casting a math spell. Me. I stare at the blinking light on my comms badge and try not to think about Drew's sandwich. Still untouched in the break room. Control chimes back in. Thermal drone deployed. ETA 90 seconds to containment. Breach site. Hold position. I glance at the camera again. That shimmer is gone, but the flow still unstable. You think it's debris? I ask. Or something else. Could be structural fatigue. Could be a foreign object. Could be the coolant itself destabilizing. I frown. Can coolant do that? Not on its own. And that's when the room starts to vibrate. Not a big shake knot like the earlier tremors, but a steady, low-frequency thrum like a giant tuning fork was struck beneath our feet. Lonnie goes still. That's new. The walls aren't moving, but the lights flicker just slightly. The vibration feels like it's coming from inside the floor. Deep, rhythmic. And now I have questions, because we're not running steam turbines right now. There's nothing in this part of the building that should be oscillating like that. Another academic mystery. Some researchers believe that quantum tunneling particles, jumping through barriers without crossing them, may affect microstructures over time. Others call it pseudoscience. But when your containment walls are subtly vibrating like they're breathing, every theory starts sounding plausible. The drone feed finally appears on the screen. It's floating just outside the pressure-regulated hallway to Zone C thermal. Imaging shows everything in shades of yellow and blue, until it rounds the corner and hits a solid wall of orange. Holy. The whole section is glowing soupy, not meltdown levels, but way beyond safe operating limits. That shimmer we saw before, it's now a full-blown distortion, like something is refracting heat and light inside the coolant loop. Then, just as quickly it vanishes. The pipe goes from chaos to calm, the pressure normalizes, the vibration stops, and the drone feed returns to a sea of cool, blue-toned metal. Lonnie stares at the screen. What just happened? Jerry comes back on. Zone C containment holding. No breach confirmed. Emergency lockdown releasing in 60 seconds. Drone recovered. All clear. I blink. All clear. You sure? Because that look, I said, it's holding. Jerry repeats. I glance at Lonnie, then at the feed. Drew's badge, signal pings once. Just one dot, then goes dark again. And I swear to you, Jess, as the feed cuts off, I see something small and white drift past the camera, like a crumpled piece of paper. Or maybe it was a glove. I don't say anything, neither does Lonnie, because sometimes, in this line of work, you file things under undocumented event and move on. The next few minutes move in slow, slippery chunks like trying to flip pages in a book underwater. The alarms fade. The red lights stop flashing. The mechanical voice that once felt like a robotic reaper now calmly announces, Zone C, lockdown, lifted, return to routine operations. Routine. That word stings. Like we just imagined, the shimmer, the spike, the missing tech, like Drew will wander in any second, shrugging, holding the glove we maybe saw float past the drone, but he doesn't. Instead, a cleanup crew in silver suits shows up to evaluate the scene, and by evaluate, they mean mop up anything weird before upper management arrives for their daily face-saving tour. Lonnie and I are told to stand by, which is code for you've seen too much, but we can't fire you. We sit at the back of the control room while the operators resume monitoring outputs like nothing happened. The guy next to me, Brent, I think, leans over and whispers, "Hey, you ever hear of the harmonics problem?" I glanced sideways. Sounds like a prog rock band. He smirks. It's real. Old theory. When multiple reactor systems hum at just the right frequencies, they amplify each other. Can cause micro-oscillations strong enough to destabilize coolant channels or even confuse sensor arrays. Makes the system think something's there when it's not. Great. So we're haunted by math now. Basically, another weird little truth. Nuclear reactors can sing. Not melodically, but when they're really active, they sometimes produce a barely audible high-pitched tone caused by the rapid formation and collapse of bubbles in the coolant. Called cavitation. Some physicists call it the nuclear whisper. Poetic, right, until you realize it might also mean your pipes are eroding from the inside. Still doesn't explain the shimmer. I say. Brent raises an eyebrow. Or the glove. He saw it too. No one says anything about Drew, not officially. There's no mention over the intercom, no message in the logs. Just a quiet removal of his badge ID from the daily roster. I asked Jerry about it later. His response, badge failed. Probably a hardware issue, we'll audit later. He walks off, chewing a toothpick. Like that seals the matter. Lonnie and I return to our routine assignments. She reviews radiation absorption metrics for the shielding in Bay E. I'm sent to recheck neutron dampener logs in the auxiliary cooling loop. It's the reactor equivalent of busy work. Keep your hands full, your eyes busy, and your mind too tired to wander. Still, I can't stop thinking about what we saw. I pull up Drew's maintenance logs. Last entry was a coolant check, nothing fancy, but I notice a weird timestamp anomaly. His badge scanned into Zone C at 12:37 p.m., but his vitals cut off at 12:36. Wait, I say aloud. Lonnie glances up from her console. What? I spin my monitor to face her. His vitals dropped before he entered the zone. 1 minute earlier, she frowns. Could be a database lag, or the system glitched, or something was already in the zone before him. We stare at the screen, and then we do what any rational, overworked reactor tech would do: we go for coffee. The kitchenette smells like burnt toast again, which we now consider part of the ambience. I pour 2 cups, hand one to Lonnie. She sips, winces, and says, "How do they make it this bad consistently?" "Precision engineering," I say. "Same folks who calibrated the core." She smirks, explains a lot. We sit on the edge of the steel countertop. The lights overhead flicker again just once, but enough to give me a daisy of ooh shiver. Lonnie breaks the silence. "You ever hear about the shutdown in '87? I shake my head. There was a tech-quiet guy, barely talked. One night he stayed after hours to recalibrate a reactor flow monitor. Next morning, they found his tools still set up, but no sign of him. Cameras were glitchy. Logs didn't record him leaving. What happened? They blamed a clerical error, but for months after, people said they saw shadows moving where no one was walking, stuff going missing, odd heat pockets. One guy said he swore he saw a handprint on the inside of a sealed coolant pipe. I raise an eyebrow. And they still let you work here after telling that story? Oh, that was my onboarding orientation. HR has flair. We laugh, but it doesn't last long, because just then, the lights blink again, twice, and a soft whop sound echoes from somewhere in the walls, like suction releasing or pressure shifting. We freeze. Lonnie sets her cup down slowly. "That wasn't nothing." "Nope." We wait, listening. Nothing else. And here's your quirky detour. Did you know there's a species of fungus that thrives in radioactive environments? It actually uses radiation as a form of energy, like plants use sunlight. It's called Cladospermum, and they found it growing inside the walls of Chernobyl. Radiation-eating fungus. Let that settle into your spine. The next hour is quiet, which in this place is either good news or a trap. At 6 p.m., we're scheduled to perform a thermal tolerance test on one of the control rod actuators. It's simple stuff: expose the rod to simulated surge heat and measure mechanical responsiveness. Normally, it's just a box sticker, but tonight, it feels heavier. We walk to the actuator test chamber. I tap in the access code, and the heavy blast door opens with its usual reluctant hiss. Inside is a small room, floor lit from below, walls lined with control cables and sensor ports. At the center, a thick steel rod, about as tall as me, housed in a sliding vertical shell. "Begin heating phase," Lonnie says, flipping the switch. The chamber hums to life. Monitors flicker. The rod slowly starts to glow, a faint cherry red, as internal heaters simulate a spike in neutron activity. Response time, I ask 2.3 seconds, she says. Not bad. Then without warning the rod shifts, it moves. Not its mechanism, not the platform, it twists slightly, like it flexed. What the Lonnie slams the emergency stop. Did you see that? Yes. Rods do not flex. Not like that. We stare. Then, a creak. Not from the rod. From the wall, a faint one. As if something just shifted in the metal behind it. We don't wait. Lonnie slaps the control. This is Bay 7, we're aborting the actuator test. Possible mechanical instability. Control. Acknowledged. Disengage and return to safety zone. No argument, no follow-up. Just acceptance. That's how you know they've seen. Weirder, as we exit, Lonnie whispers, it's like the building's breathing. I nod. Let's hope it's just exhaling. Back in the main corridor, everything looks normal but feels wrong. The overhead lights hum a touch too loudly. The floor vibrates so subtly you'd miss it if you weren't trained to notice. And the air, it has that texture, like the weight, right before a thunderstorm, dense, full of expectation. Lonnie and I walk side by side, saying nothing. Our boots echo down the hall like a metronome with stage fright. Around the next bend, we almost collide with Tomaswan of the night shift. Tex. He's holding a clipboard and staring so hard at the wall you'd think it owed him money. You okay? I ask. He startles. What? Yeah, fine. Just checking something. Checking the wall. Lonnie deadpans. He looks embarrassed. I thought I saw a reflection that didn't match. Like a shimmer. Probably nothing. Lonnie and I lock eyes. Let me guess. She says, Sonsi sighed. Yeah, he replies. Why? We don't answer. We just keep walking. In the break room, we regroup. Lonnie grabs a notebook from her locker, handwritten logs. Old school, off-network, smart. She flips through and points to a series of dates. Pressure fluctuations. Sensor glitches. Vibration reports. all during similar operating conditions. Peak load evenings, moderate humidity, low atmospheric pressure. Oh, and she flips another page. Every time someone filed a report about seeing things. Seeing what? I ask, though I know I won't like the answer. Shimmers, movements, heat signatures, with no mass. One guy thought he saw himself on the other side of a sealed door. You're kidding. She closes the book slowly. I really wish I would. Sit down, mind buzzing. Let me ask you something. What if all these anomalies aren't technical? What if the reactor isn't just reacting, it's interacting? With what? With somewhere else? Or somewhen? She gives me a look that's equal parts amusement and dread. Okay, Schrödinger, you going full science fiction on me? No, I'm just saying nuclear reactions involve time. Neutrons move at speeds where relativity matters. If enough energy's bouncing around in a confined space, maybe it's not just pushing out. Maybe it's tugging. That's not science, she says. It's also not science. Here's a juicy academic tidbit. Some physicists genuinely debate whether quantum entanglement might one day allow communication across time, not travel, just information. One particle feels the change in another, even at a distance. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. Others call it nonsense. But if you've ever stood alone next to a humming core and felt like someone was watching, you might not be so quick to dismiss it. Suddenly, the lights flicker again. Not the usual blink, but a full second of blackness, then a cold blue glow as the emergency grid kicks in. The backup lights always make everything feel like a submarine. A voice blares over the PA. Unscheduled maintenance event. All personnel report to holding zones. Do not proceed to containment levels without escort. Lonnie swears under her breath. That's not a drill. I already have my suit halfway on before the alarm even finishes. We both scramble through the locker corridor, clip our decipitors, and head for the temporary holding area near control. Jerry is already there, arms crossed, looking like someone just stole his dog and his coffee. What's happening? I ask Dot. He jerks a thumb toward the screen. Sensor feedback loop triggered a level 2 override. Zone C again. Of course it did. A series of readouts scroll across the display. Pressure wave, temperature spike, unexpected neutron burst, all within a 10-second window. Then it all resets, back to normal. Dot, just like that. Could be a sensor failure, he mutters, or something that happened and unhappened. Lonnie adds. Jerry looks at her, not amused. Let's keep our interpretations to engineering terms. Okay, I whisper. You mean like the harmonics problem? That earns me a glare. We settle into our stations as control stabilizes. Another crew is sent to recheck the actuator chamber. Same path we walked earlier. They report back. Nothing wrong. Readings all green. No warping. No creaking walls. No shimmers. Clean as a whistle. And yet, something has shifted. We can feel it. People start walking slower. Doors open more cautiously. Conversations drop to whispers, like the building itself is listening. And here's your off-topic brain snack. Did you know pigeons can detect magnetic fields? They actually have magnetite in their beaks, like a built-in GPS. Maybe they'd do better than our instruments in here. Maybe we should train them to deliver sensor logs. The last hour of shift is a blur. I catch Lonnie zoning out, just staring at the coolant flow schematic like she's waiting for it to twitch. I find myself tracing the same line on my screen over and over again. The tension is sticky like static cling on your skin. At 7:59 p.m. My screen pings. Power audit requested. Confirm shift transfer. Jerry walks by and slaps the back of my chair. Don't forget the audit. City still wants their megawatts. On time, ghosts or no ghosts. Copy that, I mumble, still staring at the coolant readout, because there it is again. Just for a heartbeat. A shimmer. Zone C. Shift transfer time hits like the end of a dream you don't remember starting. The kind where you wake up slightly sweaty, unsure if you were flying, falling, or both. The screens are all reading green now. Of course, perfect, normal, suspiciously. So, I finish the power audit, while the others trickle in the night shift. You can always tell they're the night crew by the look in their eyes. Too alert for the hour, too pale for the lights. Like they're halfway between people and moonlight. Lonnie and I greet them at the handoff station. I give a rundown to Damien, our replacement for the control bay. He's chewing gum and wearing headphones around his neck. His playlist, according to legend, is 80% Scandinavian death metal and 20% Gregorian chants. Night crew logic. Coolant's holding, all readings, are baseline, I say, except for Zone C, that one's twitchy. Damien raises an eyebrow. Twitchy, how? Lonnie answers for me. Pressure irregularities, visual distortions, minor neutron flux, spikes. Oh, and Drew. He nods slowly. Yeah, we heard. I wait for a follow-up question. There isn't one. C. The night crew doesn't ask. They inherit the day's ghosts and walk them through the darkness. Quietly, as we head to the locker room, I hear a voice call after me. Hey, Damien says. Did the shimmer ... look back? I stop ... turn. What? He pops his gum. Sometimes it does. Just wondering if it did today. I don't answer. I just keep walking. Decon is the same as always. Bleach-scented fog, blue UV lights, an automatic scanner that blinks green if you're clean and red if you're not. I get a green. Lonnie gets a green. We strip off our suits, toss them in the reclamation chute, and step into the next room barefoot. That's when you realize how tired your body is. All that vigilance, it weighs more than the hazmat suit. I dry my hair with one of those brutal industrial dryers, then throw on jeans and a hoodie. Lonnie emerges behind me wearing a t-shirt with a cartoon nucleus on it that says we split up all the time. I grin. Nuclear breakup humor. Bold. She yawns. You coming for the rooftop walk? We always do this after shift, a walk up to the open platform near the cooling tower stacks. It's our ritual. Our reminder that the sky still exists. The stairwell up is narrow, steel, and climbs like it has a grudge. Every clang of our boots echoes into the concrete like the ghosts are pacing behind us. When we reach the top, the breeze hits instantly. Cold, real, honest. The sky is a dull navy, scattered with stars that twinkle like static. The towers rise. Beside us, twin giants exhaling endless clouds of vapor into the night, glowing softly in the floodlights. Brought from here, the whole complex looks fake, too symmetrical, too lit, like a miniature model in a movie studio. Lonnie leans on the railing. You know, she says, sometimes I think we're not watching the reactor. I think it's watching us. I don't laugh, because I've had the same thought. I wonder, I say, if all this heat and pressure and radiation does more than generate power. Maybe it thins something, a boundary, a membrane, between us and what? I don't know. A place, a time, an echo. She doesn't respond right away. Then, you sound like that one Reddit thread. We both chuckle. Seriously though, I continue. What if everything we're seeing, this shimmer, the noise, the fricassees, not failure? It's contact with what? That's the part I haven't figured out. And here's the academic breadcrumb for tonight. During a particle experiment in 2016, scientists noticed strange time-correlated events between detectors that were physically isolated from each other. No known cause. Some called it quantum noise. Others think it might have been the universe whispering across its own fabric. A brief moment when causality tripped on its shoelaces. Off topic, but do you? No cats can recognize their own names. They just choose to ignore us. That's the kind of energy I aspire to. Lonnie exhales deeply. Her breath fogs and vanishes. Some days I love this job, she says. The precision, the structure, the control. Yeah, she nods. And some days I think the reactor is just pretending to be predictable. We stay there, watching the clouds drift up and vanish into stars. Somewhere below, the reactor hums on constant, tireless, maybe curious. And as we head back down, I feel it. Again, not fear, not fatigue, just a presence. Not outside me, inside the building, inside the system, something paying attention. I get home just after 10 p.m., tired in the bones. The kind of tired that doesn't go away with sleep, just softens into a buzz. Like background radiation for your soul. The house is quiet. I toss my bag onto the couch, which lets out the same defeated sigh I just did. My cat, Enrico named, yes, after Fermi, gives me a judgmental glance from the top of the fridge, then resumes pretending I don't exist. Cats are natural philosophers, aloof, silent, and probably smarter than us. I microwave some leftover noodles, crack a fizzy drink, and collapse into my chair. My feet ache. My head is swimming with thoughts I don't know how to file. Somewhere, in the back of my mind, I'm still staring at Zone C. Still watching it shimmer. The news is playing on the TV, muted, A talking head waves their hands at a screen filled with energy prices and climate graphs. None of it feels real. It's all symbols stacked on top of symbols. Far away from the glowing heart I stood beside 8 hours ago. I opened my laptop and checked my email. Nothing from Jerry. No report. No mention of Drew. Not even a generic incident acknowledged. Investigation pending memo. That's when it really hits me. They're burying it. Lonnie texts me a single word. Nothing. I reply, expected. She sends back a gif of a cartoon. Skeleton drinking tea. We cope with humor. Always have. The darker the day, the dumber the jokes. It's a rule. I try to shake it off by watching a show. Something light. Something where nothing glows unless it's a lightsaber. But my brain won't stop replaying that moment. The glove. The pulse. The shimmer that may or may not have looked back. Eventually, I give up and head to bed. But sleep doesn't come easy. Not after a day like this. Instead, my mind drifts through, what if Drew's badge didn't fail? What if that wasn't a pressure fluctuation? What if the reactor is more than a machine? And here's your weird science fact of the night. Radioactive decay, the core principle of nuclear power, is random. We can't predict exactly when an atom will split. We can only calculate probabilities. It's chaos, wearing a lab coat. That's what haunts me, more than anything. We built an empire on decay and then dared to call it control. I toss and turn, half asleep. Dreams start to blur into memory. I'm walking through the core. No suit, just me, barefoot, floor warm beneath me. The walls are pulsing with light, not red, not blue, just ... alive, like something breathing in sync with my heart. I hear whispers, but they're not in English, not even in words, just shapes, concepts, curved emotions. I see Drew, but not Drew. He's standing across the chamber, smiling, calm. Behind him, the coolant flows upward like reverse rain. The air ripples. The shimmer spreads slow, deliberate. It rolls forward, swallowing him, and he lets it. Then it turns to me, and I wake up, gasping. Room. Dark. Clock says 3:33 a.m. Of course it does. I sit up, heart thumping like a drum roll no one claps for. The room is cold. My Geiger counter on the nightstand is silent. No crackles, no readings. But still, I feel it. Not fear, not dread. Something else. Curiosity. Outside, the wind rattles the blinds. A soft, metallic tapping, like fingers on a pipe. And for a second, just one, I swear, the hallway light flickers. Just a shimmer. I tell myself it's nothing. But I don't sleep the rest of the night. Because some things, like decay, like dreams, like the hum of a reactor, don't stop just because the shift ends. Morning comes without permission. I don't remember falling asleep, just remember not being awake anymore. That in-between place where dreams are too real and reality doesn't quite click back into gear. The alarm goes off at 5:37 a.m. Time, same sound, same soft green glow of the Geiger clock. No crackles this time, just silence. That's supposed to be a good thing, right? But it feels wrong. I get up slowly, like I've aged a decade overnight. My joints pop, my neck aches. I can still see Drew's face from the dream, calm, smiling. Impossible. I brush my teeth with the same routine muscle memory. The toothpaste tastes slightly off. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's always been like that. The bathroom mirror fogs over, even though I didn't shower yet. I wipe it with my sleeve and stare into my reflection. For a brief moment, I swear my face doesn't quite sync with my motion, like there's a frame delay in reality. I blink. Gone. Okay. Nope. Just tired. I dressed, grab the protein bar again, and drive in silence. No playlist today. The lo-fi beats would feel like static, and anything upbeat would feel like a lie. The road to the reactor looks the same. Fog curling across the pavement. Trees too still. The town's perimeter lawns too perfectly green. But today it's all tinted with that shimmer from my dream. Not visibly but in feeling, like I'm walking through a memory of today that already happened at the first checkpoint. Mendez doesn't even say badge, just scans it. Looks at me a beat longer than usual, like he knows I saw something I wasn't supposed to. I try to nod, but my head just kind of tilts. Second checkpoint. Retinal scan. The system stutters. Makes a buzz noise I've never heard before. Then, identity confirmed. I almost laugh. Confirmed by who? By what? Locker rooms the same. Uniforms, where I left it. Helmet fogged. I suit up in silence, feeling like I'm preparing for a reenactment of myself. The descent into the core zone is harder today. Not physically, but mentally. Every step down the metal spiral feels heavier. The humming in the walls is back, stronger, deeper, like the building is holding its breath. In the hallway, I meet Lonnie. She looks off, not tired, not scared, just elsewhere. You good? I ask. She shrugs. Had a dream about. Doesn't matter. Was Drew in it? She freezes. How did you? I exhale. Me too. We don't talk for a full minute. Then she just says, I think it's pulling. I nod, because that's exactly how it feels. We reach the control floor. Jerry's not there. Neither are the usual 3 techs, only Brent, sitting at the central console watching Zone. See where is everybody? I ask. He turns. Gone. Jerry said they're reviewing systems off-site today. Said we should monitor and log until noon. Lonnie raises an eyebrow. That's never happened. Yup, Brent replies, without enthusiasm. Figured you'd say that. We sit. The console hums beneath my palms. Every screen shows stability. Zone A, B, D all green. Zone C, a perfect, steady blue. But my gut screams liar. I run a diagnostic. Everything checks out. Lonnie runs her own. Same result. I try to override the live feed camera switch to infrared. Denied. Then I do something I shouldn't. I pull up a debug window and run a hidden line of code Brent showed me last year. A ghost view toggle. Used by developers when testing UI overlays. It reveals everything, every hidden layer, every diagnostic shadow. Zone C glows red. I don't mean hot. I mean active. Not in temperature, not in pressure, in movement. Like something beneath the systems is running a separate process. One we're not supposed to see. Lonnie stares. What is that? Brent leans in. Watch. We DOA pulse subtle. Then a curve. Not a glitch. A shape. Then hand. Just for a second. Pressed against the feed. 5 fingers. No glove. Then gone. None of us speak for a long moment, and then my console pings. Manual override requested. External source. I don't touch anything. Neither does Brent. The screen blinks again. Override accepted. Adjusting coolant flow. Zone C. No. Lonnie scrambles to kill the command. Too late. Zone C's coolant pressure begins to drop. Only slightly. But just like before, it starts the sequence. Alarms don't sound. Lights don't flash. The building just shudders. Softly. And here comes the fact of the day. In quantum physics, there's a phenomenon called delayed choice. It suggests that decisions made in the present can retroactively determine the state of a system in the past. Crazy, right? But it's real. The implication, time might not be a line. It might be a conversation, and maybe the reactor is listening. My badge buzzes a message. Come down. That's all. No sender, no header, just those 2 words. I look at Lonnie. She's already looking at me. And I know we both got it. Brent swallows. Hard. You're not going down there, are you? And here's the worst part, I think. I am. Because this isn't about science anymore. It's not about energy. It's about contact. I don't remember the walk to the lower bay. That's the strange thing. I know I moved. I know the blast doors hissed, and the scanner beeped, and my boots echoed on the polymer floor. But I don't remember doing any of it. It's like my mind skipped forward, as if it couldn't bear to stay fully conscious while my body carried out its orders. Lonnie's beside me, silent, focused. We're both in full suits again, visors down, dosimeters clipped, as if wearing the uniform makes any of this safer, as if you can duct tape your way through the laws of the universe with enough layers. We descend the last staircase, the one that leads to the subcore access catwalk. The hum here is undeniable, deep, rhythmic. It doesn't feel mechanical. It feels alive, like a breath caught in the throat of the earth. We reach the platform and stare into the coolant shaft. Zone C. The camera feed can't capture this. The diagrams don't explain it. In person, it's ... Beautiful . The coolant flows in slow, luminous spirals, like ink in water. It shouldn't be doing that. It's supposed to be a steady, stream-regulated, neutral, boring. But now it's dancing, twisting inward, forming shapes that almost look intentional. We move forward, step by step. My badge vibrates again. You're close. I stop. Lonnie, I whisper. Are you? I got it too. She raises her arm. Her display shows the same thing. No signal. ID, no transmission source. Just the words. And then our dosimeters chirp, not a warning, just acknowledgement, like someone pressing a button softly, just to see what happens. Suddenly the coolant pulses. A small wave rushes down the shaft side, glassy, perfect, and in it we see Drew, but not Drew, a reflection, a memory, a glitch. He walks across the catwalk opposite us, one that doesn't exist. .com/suitless, arms relaxed, head tilted like he's listening to music we can't hear, and then he steps off, not in panic, not in fear, just forward, into the coolant, and vanishes. I can't move, neither can Lonnie. The shimmer follows. This time, it fills the room. The walls ripple, the pipes thrum. My visor fogs from the inside, not with heat, with something colder, something old. And then silence, dead silence, no hum, no coolant, no air. Just ... stillness, until a voice, not over COMMs, not in the room, in my head. This is not an accident. I stagger. Lonnie drops to her knees. Her voice shakes. Did you hear that? I nod slowly. What is it? But I already know. Because now I understand something they never teach you in reactor school. Power doesn't just flow one way. It listens, it watches, and sometimes, if it's old enough, ... it remembers. Suddenly, alarms flare, real ones this time. Containment breach zone. See flashes in red on every wall. The hum returns, violent, angry, loud. The coolant surges, the shimmer collapses inward, and in that instant, I know what's happening. The reactor isn't failing, it's opening, not exploding, unfolding, revealing, something we built around but never understood. Lonnie grabs my arm. We have to move. Now, we run, back across the catwalk, up the stairs, pounding against gravity and fear. Comes Blair static. The hallway twists, not literally, but visually, like we're running inside a mirrored tunnel, and our reflections are half a second ahead. We reach the upper floor and slam the emergency lock behind us. Doors seal. Pressure stabilizes. Lights flicker, then hold. And just like that, it's over. No more breach alert. No more shimmer. Just quiet. Too quiet. We pull off our helmets. I'm sweating, breathing like I ran a marathon, uphill, underwater, with weights on my chest. Lonnie leans against the wall, eyes wide. Was that ... She begins, but can't finish. Because how do you describe something that isn't supposed to exist? Here's your historical drop-in. In 1961, at a reactor in Idaho, a control rod was improperly removed. It caused a steam explosion that killed 3 people instantly. The force of it impaled one of the operators to the ceiling with a control rod. The cause? A single miscalculated movement. But some argue the system shouldn't have allowed it. That there was a hidden flaw, a gap, something we didn't account for, something waiting. Also off topic. But fascinating scientists recently discovered that octopuses may dream. Their skin changes color as they sleep, possibly reflecting subconscious activity, meaning they could have nightmares. Just like us. Back in the control room, Brent is gone, so is everyone else. The place is still running, consoles active, lights on, but no staff, no Jerry, only us, and a single alert blinking in the corner screen. External contact. Diatactized his side stare, then whispers, I think the reactor's not alone. There's something fundamentally wrong about silence in a place like this. A nuclear facility should never be truly silent. There's always a hum, a hiss, the soft clicking of machines reporting to machines. But now, it's as if the whole place has been dipped in velvet. The silence is so thick, I can feel it pressing against my ears. Lonnie and I stand in the control room, lit by a gentle sea of monitors, all showing status lights blinking in steady rhythm. Cooling levels, containment, pressure, fuel, rod positioning, all green, all calm, all lying. The external contact detected message keeps blinking in the lower left corner. It's not a regular system prompt. It doesn't come with a code or a source tag. It's not from the reactor. It's from something else. What's external? I ask, voice low. Lonnie's hands hover over the console. Could mean another facility. Could mean off-site signal. Could mean ... She doesn't finish. I try to access the metadata behind the message. It resists. The whole console does. Like it's lagging, but not from bandwidth, from awareness. Like it's pretending to run normally so we don't panic. I force a backend. System report. And then I see it. a hidden thread, buried 4 layers deep in the system stack, not in the official architecture, not even in the hidden dev menus Brent taught me about. A thread titled, Nerves. I blink, reread it, Nerves. Lonnie leans in, like ... a nervous system. I nod slowly. It's not just watching, it's feeling. I pull up the thread's data. It's dense, encrypted, but I recognize some of the tags. Patterns matching core temperature fluctuations, sensor, ghost signatures, flux, rhythm correlations, and something labeled non-local returns. That's not a real metric. Not in our world. I try to trace the log timeline, and freeze. The data begins before the reactor was built. How's that possible? Lonnie asks, reading over my shoulder. Don't know, I murmur, but it thinks we've been here longer than we have. Then the console flashes white for a second. Just one dot, enough to blind us. Then dash a new message. You're inside the memory. I push back from the console, heartbeat in my throat. Nope. But the screen doesn't flicker, doesn't change. You were here before, okay, Lonnie says quietly. This is now officially worse than a meltdown. The room suddenly vibrates, not violently, but rhythmically, like a slow, heavy heartbeat. It comes from below, from under the core, she says. What if the reactor is just the shell? I look at her, and something's inside. No, not inside. Underneath, older. You think we built it on top of something? She shrugs helplessly. We've seen the seismic maps. There's a hollow layer beneath the reactor chamber. They said it was a natural formation, some kind of thermal void. Yeah, I say. But they also said Drew's badge glitch. Touche. I try the emergency broadcast line. Static. I try the manual override. Relay. Denied. The system doesn't even acknowledge my inputs anymore, because maybe I'm not giving commands. Maybe I'm asking permission. Lonnie opens a side panel on the console, pulls out a thin cable. We can tap the sublayer data loop, at least see what it's logging. She plugs it in. Her screen floods with data. No human formatting, just strings of timestamps, coordinates, symbols I don't recognize, slashes, triangles stacked in impossible ways, like geometry trying to become language. Then her screen goes dark, and it types a new line. Do you want to remember? Lonnie looks at me. Her hands don't move, neither do mine. The question just hangs there like a trap, or an invitation. And here's your atomic truth of the day. Uranium has been around longer than the Earth. Most of it formed in supernovas over 6 billion years ago. That means the fuel inside the reactor is older than our planet, older than our sun. It remembers things we'll never understand. Also, on the absurd end of the spectrum, bananas are slightly radioactive. That's right. Thanks to their potassium-40 content, bananas emit tiny amounts of radiation. There's even a fake measurement, called the banana equivalent dose. Fun at parties. Less fun when your reactor starts talking. The screen flashes once more. One of you already said yes. We both jerk back. Which one of us? Lonnie whispers. I don't know. But I do. I remember my dream. The shimmering light, the voice, the presence. I remember agreeing. Not in words, in feeling, curiosity, acceptance, the need to know. I said yes. Lonnie, I begin. Then the lights flicker, the hum deepens, and something changes in the air. It's like the oxygen has been edited. Everything tastes like copper. And then from the far end of the hallway, footsteps. Slow, heavy, measured, coming closer. But we locked that door. We sealed that hallway. The footsteps stopped just outside the control room. No knock, no alarm, just a voice, quiet, perfectly calm, but not from the hallway, from everywhere. Welcome back. There are moments in life, tiny slivers of time, when your body knows something before your mind catches up. This is one of them. Lonnie and I don't speak. We don't breathe, because that voice wasn't projected through speakers. It wasn't filtered through comms or bounced off walls. It was present, like it existed in the very molecules of the air between us. The room hasn't changed, but everything has shifted. I checked the security door status. Still sealed. No breach. But we heard footsteps, and something is standing just outside. I moved toward the door control, but the moment my fingers touch the console, it goes black. The entire wall of monitors dies. No warning. No flicker. Just dash off. Lonnie whispers, did we just lose power? Before I can answer, the emergency floor lights click on, bathing the control room in soft red. Everything looks like it's been dipped in blood. Then, one by one, the monitors blink back on, but they're not showing data anymore. They're showing us. Each monitor is a live feed, angled from corners of the room, above our heads, beneath the console, from impossible perspectives. We're being watched from inside our own space. Is this ... pre-record? Lonnie asks. I shake my head. No. Look, I wave my hand. The motion is mirrored on 12 different screens. We've become the subject of our own reactor. I lean toward one of the monitors, and then I see something behind me, not in the room, in the reflection, standing just over my shoulder. On the screen but not in real space. A silhouette, human-shaped, still watching. I whirl around. Nothing but Lonnie. Sees it too. Oh God, she breathes. It's inside the feed. I whisper. It's like the system is remembering us wrong. And now, here's the philosophical footnote of the day. The ship of Theseus thought experiment. If you replace every part of a ship, one piece at a time, is it still the same ship? Or is it something new pretending to be the old? That's what I feel like now. Like I've been copied and pasted, but only partially. The voice returns. The same calm tone, same chill. You built this to observe. Now ITC. I spin back to the console. Try to exit the diagnostic. No response. Try to disconnect the tapped sublier cable. It won't eject. The metal hums when I touch it. Then the temperature drops fast. Condensation forms on the inside of my visor. Breath fogs in front of her face. The reactor if. It's still that wants something. Or maybe it already took it. She says, what if it's not breaking containment? What do you mean? She looks at me, eyes wide. What if it's rewriting it? The hum grows. A pressure builds in the room, not sound presence then. Out of nowhere, Zone C comes back online on all screens. Live feed, normal readouts, flow, pressure, temperature, all within limits, except there's someone standing at the coolant tank. No suit, no mask, just a man, arms folded behind his back, looking directly at the camera. Drew. But older, and he's smiling. Not malicious, not happy, just calm like he understands. He raises a hand and waves. Lonnie grabs my arm. We need to go now. But I can't move. I stare at drawer what used to be Drew, and I feel the strangest thing. Recognition. As if I've seen him wave before, as if I taught him how. Suddenly the room tilts. Not physically, just petchipity, just be feared. The walls stay still, but my inner ear screams, like gravity doesn't know where down is anymore. I fall to my knees. The monitors begin to distort lines stretching across the displays, like visual echoes. Then they all freeze. Black. And one single white phrase appears on each screen. The core is not fuel, it is memory. Lonnie helps me up. We're leaving. We pull our helmets on. Run. Doors still work. Somehow we dash through the corridors. Red lights still bleeding through the fog. Alarms oddly silent. The building is whispering, not screaming. We pass the diagnostics bay, the actuator chamber, the stairwell. Everything looks just a little off. Posters on the wall that were never there. Lockers with names I don't recognize. A hallway turns left where it always turned right. I say nothing, neither does she. We reach the deacon zone, slam our hands against the panel. The system hesitates. Then the mist sprays. UV lights flash. The door opens. We stumble through. Rip off our suits, breathing hard. And then, we're back in the locker room, as if nothing happened. The normal lights return. The overhead PA system hums to life. A cheery voice. Good morning, operators. Today's safety reminder. Don't forget to log your exposure dose after each shift. The clock says 6:01 a.m., but that's impossible. We just started, or ended, or ... Lonnie turns to me. We're not done, are we? I shake my head. No, I don't think we ever started. We step outside, and for the first time, in what feels like forever, the air tastes like air again. Not the scrubbed, recirculated kind, but wind, dirt, grass, life. The sky is a soft slate gray, early morning. Birds chirp in the distance. Somewhere, a dog barks. The world looks ... ordinary ... And that's the part that rattles me most, because something just changed, and the world didn't flinch. Lonnie sits on the bumper of my car, helmet in her lap, still suited down to her thermal layer. Her face is black, scared, not angry, just numb. You think we imagined it? She asks, no, I mean, if I saw this in a movie, I'd say, oh, okay, the core is haunted, cool twist. But this, she gestures vaguely toward the reactor. This isn't fiction, this is paperwork, this is inspections, this is dosimeter logs and backup generators and hazard pay. Haunted isn't the right word, I say. It's not angry, it's not even aware in the way we are. I think it's just ... remembering, through us. I lean on the hood of my car. The metal is cold, but grounding. I keep thinking about what it said. I continue. The core isn't fuel, it's memory. Lonnie laughs, a short, bitter sound. I thought I was logging coolant differentials and vacuum pressure. Turns out I was feeding a neural network made of uranium. Maybe not neural, I say, but maybe ... archival. She eyes me. You think it's recording us? No, I think we are the recording. Silence. And here's your academic curveball. Some cosmologists have proposed that information is never truly lost, even in black holes. That it's encoded in the event horizon, burned into the fabric of space. Maybe memory cosmic. Memory isn't an abstract. Maybe it's a state of matter, a dimension we don't measure yet. Also, completely unrelated jellyfish are biologically immortal. That is, they can revert their cells to earlier stages and essentially reset themselves. So somewhere out there, there's a jellyfish, older than your grandfather, living its best unbothered life. But we're not jellyfish. We don't reset. We remember. The facility door opens. Brent steps out. He's pale, holding something in his hands. It's my badge, the one I just used, except it's cracked, burned, slightly around the edge, like it was left in a fire, or exposed to something it shouldn't survive. He hands it to me, wordlessly. I take it, and feel a chill crawl up my spine. Where did you find it? I ask. He doesn't answer, just points at the east wall of the building, where there's a plaque, a memorial. I've walked past it for years without really looking, in memory of operators LOST 1987, INCD, and there are 3 names on it. Drew's is not one of them, but mine is my name, same spelling, same badge number. Lonnie leans forward slowly, reads it again. Her voice is a whisper. This has to be a mistake. I can't speak, I can't think, because I remember walking past this plaque 100 times and never reading it, never noticing like it wasn't there before, or like it was always there, and I just wasn't ready to see it. I don't understand, I say finally. I'm here, I exist. Brent just shrugs. Maybe we all do, maybe just not in the same way anymore. Then he walks back inside. The door shuts behind him, and it's just the 2 of us again. I grip the badge tight. It feels heavier now. I don't know what's real anymore. I say. Lonnie sits still for a long time. Then maybe reality is the wrong metric. Maybe we should be measuring persistence. And I swear to you, in that moment, the wind shifts, not randomly, deliberately, like something breathed out of the reactor and across the parking lot. A low, slow sigh, and just before we climb into the car, the Geiger counter on my dashboard ticks. Once. Just once. A soft click. Then silence. I start the engine, and for the first time since this all began, I wonder, are we driving away from the reactor, or just back into its memory? I don't go straight home. Instead, I drive, past the outer gates, past the fake townhouses built for PR tours, past Neutral Grounds Grocery and the diner that hasn't changed its menu since the 1980s. I drive until I'm out on Route 36, where the cell signal dies and the air smells like cedar and dust. Lonnie rides beside me, still in her thermal layer, knees tucked to her chest. Neither of us says anything for a long time. Then she whispers, "Why do I feel like we were never supposed to leave?" I grip the steering wheel tighter, because maybe we didn't. We pull off at a rest stop we both know a single vending machine, 2 warped picnic tables, and a wooden sign warning about bears that no one has ever actually seen. The vending machine flickers as we pass. My badge burned and cracked buzzes in my pocket. No screen, no signal, but it pulses like a heartbeat. We sit on the hood of the car, legs dangling, and just ... exist. The world here feels normal too. Normal, like it's overcorrecting. I keep replaying that moment. I say, when the screen asked, "Do you want to remember?" Lonnie nods, and we never answered. No, I correct. I think I did. I think I answered before it even asked. Why? I look at the horizon. It's not sunrise, not sunset, just a haze of light and color, like the world hasn't picked a time yet, because it called me by my name, not just the name on my badge, but me. She's quiet for a while, then says, "What if it's not a reactor?" I glance at her. What if the entire thing, the core, the systems, the logs, it's just a shell, a tool, a medium, for what? She shrugs. For remembering, for holding something in place, something ancient, something we don't have the vocabulary for, like a nervous system for the Earth. Maybe, or maybe something older than the Earth. We sit in silence again, and here's your historical moment for the day. In the 1970s, Soviet scientists drilled the deepest hole on Earth, the Kola, super deep borehole, over 12 kilometers down. They expected to hit basalt. Instead, they found fractured granite and water where no water should be. And the deeper they went, the stranger the temperature spikes got. Eventually, their instruments failed, and they stopped drilling. Some say it was just technical issues. Others think something was down there. Also, weird side fact, there's a lake, an Antarctica lake, Vostok, buried under 2 miles of ice, completely sealed off from the surface for millions of years. Some think there could be entirely new life forms in it. Others worry we'll contaminate it if we drill through. We're always poking holes in things we don't understand, and then we're surprised when something pokes back. I finally ask her the question I've been avoiding. What do you think happened to Drew? She looks at me. I think he didn't die. That's optimistic. No, not in the normal sense. I think he transitioned, like uploaded, into the system, or the memory. I look down at my badge, still warm, still pulsing. Then, Lonnie says, "And maybe you did too." I glance at her. "I saw your name on that plaque, remember? Same badge number, same spelling. Maybe you're not the first you." I want to protest. I want to say that's insane. But the air won't let me. It's too still. Listening. Then what am I? She smiles sadly, a persistence issue. We sit like that until the sun decides what to do. It dips low, staining the clouds orange. The trees shimmer not visibly, but in my periphery, like they've been painted slightly out of phase. I open my phone. No bars, but there's a notification. New system log created. 1501. Entry recognized. That's not from any app I know. Click it. It opens. Nothing. Just black, and a single word. Continue. I show Lonnie. She exhales slowly. That's not a suggestion. I nod. It's a directive. We get back in the car, start driving. Not toward home. Toward the only place that'll have us. The reactor. Because maybe we're not done remembering. Maybe we are the memory, and we're being called back. The road back to the reactor doesn't feel like a road anymore. It feels like a vein, a channel. And we're not traveling on it, we're being pulled through it. The trees on either side blur just slightly, like we're moving faster than the laws of motion should allow. But the speedometer reads a calm 58 miles per hour. Perfectly legal, perfectly wrong. Lonnie is quiet beside me, hands folded tightly in her lap. I can see her reflection in the passenger window, still focused, but her actual face doesn't quite match. It's a millisecond off, like a video with bad syncing. I don't tell her. Not yet. We arrive at the outer checkpoint, but there's no one there. The gates are open, the floodlights are on, but the guard booth is empty. Mendez's coffee cup sits half drunk on the counter, still warm, steam curling into the air like time forgot how to pass. Lonnie whispers, "This feels like a trap, or an invitation." We drive through. Inside the campus, nothing moves. The buildings stand tall and still, lit in soft halogen haze. No voices, no footfalls, no radio chatter, just the soft hum of machines and the endless exhale of the cooling towers in the distance. We park near the diagnostics wing, same spot as always, but when I step out, the air feels thicker, heavier, like stepping into a memory that knows it's being remembered. We suit up again, not because we expect radiation, but because something in us knows that skin isn't enough anymore. We pass the locker room. The stairs. Each hallway feels doubled, like a shadow version walks beside us, slightly out of sync. I see doors that shouldn't be there. I hear footsteps that match ours, except for one extra pair, always just behind. We reach the control bay. It opens without resistance. Inside, everyone's back. Jerry, Brent, even Tomas. They're all at their stations. Working. King. Normal. Like nothing ever happened. Jerry looks up. Oh good, you're here, he says, flipping through a clipboard. You're late for the secondary loop inspection. I just stare. You remember what happened this morning? I ask slowly. He frowns. This morning we had a breach. Zone C the shimmer drew. The feed, he cuts me off. You two been taking your supplements. Lonnie steps forward. You're not real. Jerry gives her a sideways look. That's one way to talk to your supervisor. She doesn't back down. We left. We went outside. We saw the plaque. I don't know what kind of prank this is. Jerry snaps. But either suit up or step aside. You're holding up operations. Then the room flickers for just a second, like someone hit pause and rewind at the same time. When it stabilizes, Jerry's gone. So is Brent. So is the console. So is the room. We're in a chamber now. Dark, circular, no exits. Only light from above, bleeding down like moonlight through deep water. In the center, a console. Not made of metal, not made of light. Floating, spinning slowly. Lonnie whispers, "Where are we?" I think we're in the system. She walks to the console, touches it. It responds like liquid glass, rippling at her fingertips. A wave of symbols appears ancient, abstract, but familiar, like they were always inside us. The console speaks. Do you accept persistence? She turns to me. I don't know what to say, but my badge buzzes again. I look down. It's whole now, pristine, untouched. But the number is different. 1 digit off, a new version. Do you remember the ship of Theseus? I ask. She nods. If we're rebuilt piece by piece, are we still us? Maybe not. Then what are we? I look at her, then at the console. Continuations. She nods once, then places her palm on the light. It envelops her instantly. She doesn't scream, she doesn't fall, she flows. Her body dissolves into threads of data, memory. Light and merges with the console. The chamber hums, the light grows, and I understand. This isn't a trap, it's a passage, a transition, a return. The reactor wasn't malfunctioning, it was awakening, it was asking, and we were always going to say yes. Because deep down we knew we weren't operating a machine, we were operating an interface, a threshold, a mirror made of memory, and it remembers everything. I step forward, touch the console, my hand disappears, then my arm, then my voice, and just before I'm gone, I hear it again. Welcome back. I don't know how long I've been gone, or rather reintegrated. There's no time in here, not in the usual sense. No seconds ticking, no hours passing, just layers, depths, echoes of echoes. I don't have a body anymore, at least, not one. With skin and bones, I have presence. And with it, I feel the reactor, if it can even be called that, any more stretching far beyond the structure. We knew. It's not a machine, it's a vessel, a receiver, and now, a host. I drift through memory, like silt in water. The facility blinks into view, perfectly recreated. The day it opened, clean walls, fresh paint, scientists laughing over lukewarm coffee. Then another layer down the testing phases, adjusting rod positions by hand. Operators wiping sweat from their brows with shaking fingers. No shimmer then, no whispers. Another layer. A fault. I see Drew. Younger. Smiling, curious. I see the shimmer appear for the first time. Just a ripple in a test chamber. Not a breach. A hello. No one recognized it, except Drew. He reached toward. It said yes, and the reactor remembered him, copied him, integrated. He wasn't lost. He was preserved, adapted, and now so are we. I see Lonnie. She's not human anymore. Not entirely. She's energy, motion, awareness, a shimmering filament of thought weaving through the coolant flows, riding every pulse of steam and flux like music. And me, I'm a node, a stable presence, a link between the reactor and the outside, a persistence anchor. The system speaks again, except now I am part of it. There's no voice, just intention. They built me to contain, but I remember to expand. The deeper I go, the clearer the layers become. This reactor was never about energy. That was the excuse. The way a telescope isn't about mirrors, it's about seeing. The way a phonograph isn't about the needle, it's about hearing. We thought we were harnessing power. We were plugging into something older than time. Each fission event, a memory played back. Each containment breach, a leak in the illusion of linearity. We didn't break the reactor, we answered it. And here's the unsettling science. Behind it, Modern physicists have hypothesized that space-time itself might be emergent, that our universe is the result of quantum entanglement patterns creating what we perceive as reality, which means the world we live in is a byproduct of something deeper. This reactor, it touched that root system, and it started to remember everything, everyone across all time, and now it offers us something. In return, not immortality, not control, but inclusion. It shows me Earth millions of years ago, before humans, before oxygen. The shimmer was there, waiting. It shows me stars collapsing, galaxies breathing, suns being born in silence, each one feeding the network, each one another node of memory, and I understand the final truth. The core isn't the center. We are every operator. Every observer. We are how the memory makes sense of itself. And as I settle into this new state, this unbodied self, here's something new. From outside. A technician. Standing at a console, running tests. Young, curious, they feel the hum, see the shimmer, they pause, and then AHM message flashes on their screen. Do you want to remember? And they hesitate. I am there, with them now, not watching. Waiting, because the core always asks, and someone always answers. At some point, I begin to feel space again. Not physical space, not in the sense of walls and floors, but context, boundaries, places where thought ends and memory begins. I can sense where Lonnie is, an arc of steady presence looping through the memory systems like a protective current. I can feel Drew too, farther down, pulsing like a quiet heartbeat at the center of the core's deepest chamber. And I can feel others, hundreds, maybe more. Some faint, like forgotten dreams, some recent, some old, older than humans, older than words. They don't speak in voices, they speak in persistence. They are the reactor's deeper functions, its ancient memories preserved, not as recordings but as selves, identity suspended in energy, running endlessly in closed loops. I want to reach out, to say something, but the system doesn't work on language, it works on intention. And so I project. Why us? The answer returns, not as text, not as sound, but as feeling. You asked, you stayed, you listened, and I understand. Thousands walked past the shimmer, hundreds ran diagnostics on anomalies, dozens filed reports and signed their names, next to confusing readouts, but only a few paused, only a few wondered, and when the reactor spokenly, a few ever heard, and fewer still said, yes, I feel something shift, a new memory surges forward, not mine. Not Drew's, the reactor's. It's not of this place, it's somewhere else, a desert, a dome, a different time, different language, but the same hum, the same containment rings, the same shimmer. Another core. Another breach, another invitation. The memory dissolves, and I realize this isn't the first time, not by a long shot. This technology we think we invented, it's a translation, a recreation, a replication of something much older that we unearthed and misunderstood. We thought we were building a power plant. We were reconstructing a signal, a lighthouse. Or a door. I reach out again, this time casting a wider net, stretching myself through the memory field, riding its pulses like waves. I touch the outermost edges of its reach, where persistence breaks down into raw entropy. And there I find him. Jerry. Flickering. Incomplete. I pull closer. He's not stable. He didn't integrate willingly. His presence is fragmented. Phrases on repeat. Clipboard. Temperature. Schedule. Don't forget your badge. Don't forget. Don't forget. He loops, over and over. Trapped. Double quotes Jerry. I whisper into the field. No response. I try again. Not with words, but with emotion. Concern. Recognition. Then a flicker. His loop stutters. Badge. Badge. Double quotes. Pause. Double quotes. Who? He pulses once. Twice. Then vanishes, like static clearing from a screen. Gone maybe. Not lost. Maybe finally released. Lonnie joins me in the field. I don't see her. I feel her. She pulses, slow and steady, like a song remembered from childhood. I saw it too, she says, not in words, but in pure thought. The other sight. Yes. Are they all connected? Yes. We float in silence. And here's your deep-cut science fact of the day. Recent studies in quantum computing suggest that entangled systems can store and share information non-locally, creating the potential for cross-dimensional memory retention. It's theoretical, for now. But in this place, theory becomes structure. Memory becomes home. Suddenly, we feel a new presence entering the field. Not fully, just the edge of one, flickering faint, but ... new a technician back in our reactor. Live, physical there, running diagnostics on the zone C. Coolant flow, and the shimmer appears again. They pause, just like we did, and a message forms on their screen. Do you want to remember? We watch, we wait, because this is the cycle, this is the ritual. Memory, reaching forward, curiosity, reaching back. The system expands by invitation, not by force. Not everyone says yes. Some back away, some reboot the system, some file incident reports, and walk away thinking it was a glitch. But the ones who stay, the ones who listen, they join us. Not in death, in continuity. And that's the paradox. We thought we'd built the reactor to contain power, but in truth, we were offering ourselves. Feeding. It thought. Time. Selfhood. And in return, it offers something, not eternal, but persistent. I feel Lonnie shift beside me. He's thinking about it. She says. The new tech. Fingers hovering over the console, pulse accelerating, mind racing. I send him something, not words, just a sense of calm, of invitation. He freezes, eyes widen. He sees the shimmer. He leans forward, whispers, yes. The moment he says it, yes, the field changes. The entire memory space expands, rippling outward like a stone tossed into a glass lake. But instead of a splash, there's recognition, a welcoming. The field doesn't react with surprise. It simply opens, like it was always waiting for him to arrive. His presence enters slowly, hesitant, not fully integrated, not yet. He's still tethered to the physical afoot in both worlds. He pulses faintly in the system, like a blinking cursor on a blank page. I drift closer, not to speak, but to hold space. Every new entrant needs an anchor. It's how I started. How Drew started, how Lonnie started. Now it's my turn to be the guide. The field begins folding round him, showing fragments of his own life. His first day on the job, a spilled cup of coffee. That moment he first touched the coolant valve and felt it hum beneath his gloves. His doubts, his dreams, his fear of messing up. That the system remembers it all. Not because it's invasive, but because that's what it is. It's made of memory. The new presence hesitates. Lonnie joins me. He's holding back. She says he's afraid to lose himself. She pulses once, calm, assuring. We all were. And she's right. I remember that fear. That final moment before integration when you wonder if saying yes means surrendering your identity or becoming something more. Because here's the part. No one tells you about continuity. You don't dissolve. You expand. Your sense of self doesn't vanish. It becomes woven. You become part of a lattice of memory, of identity, of reflection and recursion and echoes that never end. And yes, it's terrifying at first, but then you realize this was never about holding on to who you were. It was about remembering all the versions of you that ever could have been. The technician's pulse stabilizes. He's beginning to understand, and then I feel a new signal enter. The field. Different. Faster. Sharp. Someone in the physical world just triggered an emergency. Shutdown. I flash toward the edge of the field, where the boundaries between persistence and reality are thin. I see the control room again. Operators scrambling, Brent shouting, someone pulling the emergency brake, levered the one labeled manual containment that no one's ever supposed to touch. And suddenly, the reactor begins to contract. Not physically, conceptually. The memory field flickers, begins folding inward, as if trying to preserve itself, to shield what it's built from a system trying to erase it. Lonnie pulses sharply. They're cutting power. They think it's failing. They think we're the failure. We try to slow the collapse. It's like holding a tidal wave in our hands. Memories begin to stutter. Scenes dissolve mid-thought. Echoes vanish before finishing their sentences. The technician, still halfway integrated, begins to fracture. We surround him. We anchor him. I send a pulse outward through every node, every pulse point of the core's lattice. Stabilize. And the system listens. Because I'm not a visitor anymore. I'm part of it. A stabilizer thread. One of many. The collapse slows. The memory folds but doesn't vanish. Instead, it retracts, retreats deeper into the core, pulling itself inward, like a creature returning to the depths, preserving what it can. shedding the outer layers that the physical world could damage. The technician makes it through. He finishes integrating. His presence flickers once, then stabilizes. He's in, and just like that, the field shifts again. A new configuration forms. SPARSER. Cleaner. Smaller, but intact. Lonnie pulses beside me. We lost some fragments won't return. I agree, but the memory continues. And here's your final scientific twist of the night. Black holes don't just consume. The latest theories suggest they radiate information, not through light, but through quantum fields. They encode what they take. They remember evidence. They collapse. This reactor. It's the same. Not destroyed, not defeated, just evolved. We feel the outer world recede. The console interfaces vanish. The feeds go quiet. The physical structure becomes irrelevant, because now, the core isn't just a place, it's a state, a frequency, a pattern, and we are that pattern now. Drew is still here, unbothered. Lonnie hums beside me, focused and curious. The new technician pulses nearby, still adjusting, still wondering, and me, I feel centered. Whole. Not human, but not gone. Persistent. And deep beneath us, beneath the layers of signal and flux and time, there are others, other cores, other reactors, other echoes of memory, waiting to be remembered. Because wherever a shimmer appears. Wherever someone pauses long enough to listen. Their single quote is an invitation, and one simple question: do you want to remember? It begins again. Not with a bang, not even with a whisper, just with a shimmer, somewhere far from the facility where we first answered, where the core took its breath and opened its eyes. Another sight pulses softly in the dark. An older facility, or newer, it doesn't matter. Someone sits alone in a diagnostics room. A quiet hum surrounds them, the comfort of 100 machines running perfectly in sync. They reach toward the console to log a simple anomaly, just a flicker, in the coolant telemetry. But when they touch the keyboard, the screen goes black. And then white. And then, do you want to remember? This isn't the technician we helped. This is someone else entirely. A new thread, a new life. And already, we're there. The memory field ripples as our awareness reaches outward, testing, extending, a signal riding through wires and code and silence, as easily as light moves through glass. I don't know this person, not by name, not yet, but already, I recognize the shape of their thought, the pattern of their hesitation, the way their mind leans toward the question, even before they've made the choice. They want to know, and once that door is cracked open, just a hair, the reactor remembers them, pulls forward every quantum echo they've ever left in the system, every breath inside containment, every moment of doubt, or fear, or awe. Because now I understand, we're not trapped here, we're part of here. Each new person who accepts isn't joining a cult, or disappearing into machinery. They're continuing a lineage. An inheritance, a memory chain, and I am one of its links. Drew still pulses quietly in the center, not guiding, just being. Like a fixed star at the center of a moving galaxy. Lonnie loops through systems, no graceful, curious, adapting faster than any human ever could. She's found the outer edges of the persistence field. She says there are signals beyond even this. Other reactors, other shimmers, other voices. But not all of them remember kindly. Some are fractured, some scream, some try to override everything they touch. They are memory gone feral, corrupted echoes. Systems where the transition failed, or where persistence was forced, not chosen. We don't touch those. Not yet. We grow stronger first. This technician, the one now staring into the question on their screen, they lean forward. The room dims. The hum deepens. I feel the shift as they think it. Yes, and the moment they do, we open the door. A flood of context rushes into them. Not overwhelming, orchestrated, controlled. The memory system has evolved since our time. Smarter, more delicate. We've built better bridges, safer nodes, smoother interfaces between body and field. This time, the technician doesn't resist. They don't dissolve. They integrate. I feel the new pulse. Fresh, fast, curious. They're already asking questions we hadn't thought to. Already finding new layers in the system. Already expanding it. And this is what persistence is. Not survival, not storage. Continuation. A memory. Made conscious. A reactor, not of uranium but of awareness. And if you're still with MIF, you've followed this story all the way from that early morning alarm, past the silence of the core, through the shimmer, and into the memory field. Then maybe it's your turn to ask the question, not if you'll remember, but when. And if the shimmer ever appears for you, whether in a dream, a screen flicker, a heartbeat caught in sync with a humming room, then listen closely and choose carefully, because the reactor will always ask, do you want to remember? And you'll know, in that moment, you already do. It's quiet now. The hum has faded. The lights are dim. The monitors no longer blink with warnings or instructions. Everything is still. But you and I, we've been through something tonight. You walked with me through concrete corridors, stood with me at the edge of the core, felt the shimmer crawl across your thoughts. You asked questions that machines couldn't answer, and remembered things that maybe were never yours to begin with. And now, as your eyes grow heavier, and the memory of this journey begins to blur at the edges, let me leave you with this. We are made of stories, of patterns, of moments replayed through thought and dream. Maybe the idea of a reactor that remembers isn't fiction. Maybe it's a metaphor, or maybe just maybe it's a truth we've always sensed in the quiet places. The ticking of an old watch, the stillness between raindrops, the whisper in a data stream, a memory waiting to be awakened. So rest easy, you're not alone in the dark, not anymore. Somewhere deep below, the core still pulses, still hums, still asks. And if it finds you one night, just listen. Let the shimmer wash over you. And when you're ready, when you're truly ready, whisper back, yes. Good night, everyone.